Good morning. Help me with the affirmation. Together, in one spirit, we see God everywhere, in everyone, and in everything. Marvelous day. Got any good news?
On the 15th, I will have 2 years.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Report back.
Barney's not giving any fronts around here.
I got burned.
I know. Birthdays, anniversaries, news of good report. Snoop Dogg tonight.
We're gonna go try to hang out with
We're clean.
Clean and serene. Clean and
Speak for yourself.
All right. Does anyone need to be added to the prayer list?
myself.
The Farr family.
Is Debbie over there?
Still have Larry on there.
Okay. Let's get quiet and do this meditation. So we just relax right where we're at. Just allow the seat to fully support your weight and focus on the breath. As you turn your attention within, just notice how the breath works. That as you breathe in, you are filled. And as you breathe out, you just naturally relax. Breathing in, you are filled with life. Breathing out, you relax into love. And so it goes. Life comes in. And love goes out. I see that you all are very well lit. So say it to yourself. I am brightly lit. There is a brightness in me that shines away the darkness. It is the light of Christ. It is the nature of Buddha. It is the essence of you. Take a moment to bask in that light. And notice how it grows. As you apply love in your living, a great light grows in you. It's God expressing Himself as you. The light of God expressing as your perfect self. This is the generating power of creation, and it moves through you as terrific energy. You have surrendered. You have found faith in that power. You have aligned your will with goodwill. So that now, judging rightly, examining yourself and all others in the light of God's wisdom, you are open, receptive. How easy it would be right now to begin to just operate out of divine order. Putting first things first. Putting God first. Putting love first. Eliminating the negative. With all this light and all this power, it's easy to take responsibility for life, to extend love and forgiveness. Stayed in this moment, allowing the presence and power of God to guide us in our actions, whole and at one. Awake now, fully aware of the power within us, the love between us, and the presence that is all around us. Say to yourself that Christ's light is in me. The Christ light is me. And we say amen and amen.
We get in trouble for playing with our phones.
I'm looking for something, Bart. Come on. So we went through all of those 12 things that I tell myself every morning. We put the sign up, said, shine brightly, brightly shine, if you're going the other direction. And this is the deal. This is what Hafiz says about it. He says, our hearts should do this more. I sit in the street with the homeless. My clothes are stained with the wine of love from the vineyards that the saints tend. Light has painted all acts the same color. I sit around and laugh all day with my friends. At night, I sometimes feel a divine loneliness. So I tear the doors off of love's mansion and wrestle God onto the floor. And he becomes so pleased with Hafiz and says, our hearts should do this more. This light that is in us is the light that unites us. When we recognize it in others, it immediately comes to our attention that it is also within us, and it is almost as if it is a simultaneous occurrence. It's not like, okay, I see the good in you, and then I think, oh yeah, I am too. It's like both at the same time. The light in us, the light in our brothers and sisters. The Christ light in us and all others. Yeah, and the differentiation here, the reason that I said for this lesson was the Christ light, is that this is like that the word is like the symbol for a perfection that is attained. But it also, like at the end, in our meditation at the end, we say the Buddha nature. It's the same idea. The essence of us. Really what we're talking about is God in expression through us. So, and this is, I know I told this story before, hopefully not too many times, but there's, I remember years ago struggling with the whole idea of whether there was a God or not, and I was having a conversation with my sponsor, and I said, I just can't get my mind around this. I can't see this God, can't feel, can't touch, and what he said to me, what he explained, he said, well, have you ever been to a meeting, a gathering, for those of you who may not go to meetings, have you ever been to a meeting where the sharing, the conversation, seemed just right? And you heard what you needed to hear, and you're able to share what you needed to share, and you could feel the love in the room. Ever been a time that you've been gathered together with others and you could feel the love in the room? And sometimes it's positively electric. And you can feel that Kundalini energy moving up your spine to your scalp. And I had actually been, fortunately, it hadn't happened, never before had I felt it, but a few times just previous to our conversation, I said, yes. I said, I know what you're talking about. And he said, well, that's God. That's God. That's God expressing through the assembled company. I said, well, wait, what is, he says, God, and this really helped me. It really helped me because then I wasn't focused on some guy up in the sky, but still I had these questions. It was like, okay, but if there really was a loving God, and this is what we're talking about this loving God expressing through us, if it really was, then how could this God allow my friend to die? How could this God allow all of these disasters? How could this God allow all of this suffering? And he said, it's not God. The suffering, all the suffering has much more to do with our consciousness than God's consciousness. And then you hear all of these things are all just like tied up in my mind. Where I remember years ago doing the funeral for Phil, and people. We walked around the funeral home, and people would go up to the coffin and say something about him, and they would say, "Oh, it's God's will." Not God's will. I want to hold him by the shoulders and look him in the eye and say, it's not God's will. It's not God's will. It was Phil's will. It was Phil's will. He shot the dope. It's cause and effect. That's what's happening. And so this is what my friend years ago was trying to tell me, that God is not active in this world that we have made. And I know that's just like so tough to think about. It's like, oh God, then I really am abandoned. No, we've abandoned ourselves to ourselves. We have put ourselves alone in this world that we have made. And every day we go through experiences over and over again trying to reinforce the message that we're alone. We look for every reason why we're separate from others. Sometimes we even tell ourselves that we like it. But God is not active in the world. But in the Christ light, that's the essence of us, God is active. God is active in us. And so he asked me this question then. He said, what if it wasn't God that was active in the world? What if it was that God was trying to express through you, and then you were to be hands and feet in the world? Not just you, but us together. That together, with this loving God expressing through us, that we be hands and feet, action in the world. To heal the world that we actually designed it not to be healed. But together, since we did it, and since we are ongoing doing it, together we can change the view. God's will is for good. God's will is for us to realize that we never left, that we are one with Him and one with everyone, one with all of life. So this light, this Christ light that I'm talking about, is the combination. If you take a prism and you allow the light of the sun to shine through it, it breaks up into this band of color, like you see it in the sky when we have a rainbow. It breaks up into a band of color, and each one of those colors is like a fragment of you. Well, maybe you are a fragment of that white light. And that's what happens most of the time. We are running around being fragments. We're trying to recombine. So, but all of those lights that come out, and I was taught that it was like you get differentiated into those 12 things, to those 12 powers. The power of power, it's very interesting. The power of power comes to us when we surrender to the power of God. And faith is not like, faith really is not believing. It is in a way believing in things unseen, but it really is it's a sight. Faith is a sight. Faith is a way of seeing, of perceiving, and that's one of the colors. That's one of the that's one of the powers. Will is a power. Will is the power, and it's our ability to choose between one thing and another. And wisdom is a power, and understanding is a power. A divine order is a power that's in us. Now think about all these things that I've been naming, and each one is a separate color. Elimination is a power. Strength is a power. Love is a power. Life is a power. Vision, I mean inner vision. Vision is a power. Enthusiasm, zeal is a power. And all these powers, which we talk about individually over the past 3 months, come together in the awakening that we discussed into that white light. Into that white light of Christ. They come back, they come like coming back through the prism as that white light. And this is what we want to work with in our prayer and in our meditation. The Christ light is in us, it's in all people, to see it in them. This is a really important exercise, is that in order for me to be healed, in order for me to come back to that state of oneness, I have to be able to see the face of Christ in the one that I'm mad at. And you could do the Aryan Jesus picture that's in a bunch of churches if you want to like put that face on people. But what I try to do is for them to actually have no features, but just the white light. Just the white light. That's all I want to see. Every time I have a problem, every time I take issue with someone, this is what I want to see. And when I do, then I'm at peace. So my friend has died. Probably his own fault. We don't know for sure yet. Probably his own fault and based on a decision that he made. Not God's will. Eric's will. So I get mad when I think about it. I'm angry. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. When I am grieving, I need to understand that the vast majority of my grief is self-centeredness. Because I'm thinking I lost something. I'm feeling like I have been, like something has been taken away. And we say, well, we feel bad for the family, and we may feel bad for the person. But so when I get mad about this situation, I realize that the reason I'm mad is because I think something was stolen from me. I won't see him anymore. Won't be able to be in his presence. Won't be all of these things. And the other thing that happens is it triggers a general fear, not always, but in a lot of people, it triggers that general fear of, it's going to happen to me too. Oh, not only that, it's going to happen to all these other people that I love. It's like terrifying. So, what I've been doing these past days is I've been seeing the face of Christ in Eric. And I've been giving, every time I think about all of these issues, I try to hand them to Spirit. Try to every time the anxiety rises up, every time feel the emotions. Feel the emotions, and then give them. No reason to hold them, no reason to nurse them, nurture them. Allow them to flow through. They'll come again. It's okay. Do it again. When I am suffering, it is difficult for me to allow the light that is in me to flow out. Because I'm suffering, I'm caught up. I'm caught up in the dark space. But for sure, what happens when I am able to relax enough, get peaceful enough to extend the love out to others, then my suffering goes with it. My suffering abates as a result of this light. very important part of this process is to accept. To accept the apparent situation and admit to it. Apparently, this body has died. Accept. Accept that. But I do not accept that the essence died. Because this light that is in us is eternal. Does not end. I want to be non-judgmental about this. I want to just, this is like really important, especially when you're all worked up because it looks like the person was like at fault. To accept people as they are, and the good and the seeming ill that they do, the good decisions that they've made and the seeming idiotic decisions that they have made, to accept them, to accept everyone as they are, because we know that past all this surface stuff, what they really are is the son, the daughter of God. Just like me. Just like you. So then, release all these negative judgments of others. Hold ourselves and others guiltless. This is very important in a grieving process to say, because what we say is, I could have done something differently. I could have helped him. I could have been there. If I would have said this, if I would have done that, if I wouldn't have let him do this. It's an unfortunate ego exercise, and it comes to every single person who's involved in grief. Maybe if I would have. Release the judgment. Release the judgment of ourselves, and then of all others. Because it's easy to find that. I mean, if you look at this particular situation, probably every situation where there's grief involved, there's all sorts of people can be blamed. You could blame doctors. You could blame companions that were with them at the time. You could blame. I mean, there's just a whole list of things to do. Release it. Let it go. Let them go. Suffering will go with it. So to allow everyone to be themselves without trying to force change. Because we can't. Certainly can't go back and change what we thought maybe we could have done. We can't go back and force other people to make different decisions. It just can't happen. It doesn't work. The whole idea of time travel. If it actually could work, there's only one way it can work. That you can't go back in time before the time machine's invented. And that if you did go back in time to that point where the time machine was invented, you couldn't interfere with anything. All you could do was observe. I mean, they put the math on the board. I didn't understand any of it. But with forgiveness, time travel happens naturally. When we forgive, we change the past. We actually change the past because we change how we see it. We change how we remember it. I do not want to impede the actions or desires of anyone. In the past, maybe even just a few minutes ago, it may have seemed important that other people act in certain ways, or that they do things that we thought they should do. No more. To be content. To just for a moment, to just relax enough to be content with who we are. Just not for failings of the past or some worry about our performance in the future, but just to take a moment and relax and just be okay with who we are right now in this moment. Right now in this moment, love is happening within us, between us, all around us. To be content in that moment. And then to not try to force anybody else to change. To be content with who we are and to be content with who they are. Knowing that they're on a path. It may seem like it's a long path. It may seem like they're going around in circles. But they're on a path. We're on a path. And we're all going to get to this destination. And the destination is just simply that oneness, that the kingdom of heaven. And that's another thing that I talk about when these situations occur, is that I don't mean the kingdom of heaven that you died and all of a sudden you woke up and St. Peter was reading a list to you. See, this may not happen. This may not happen. We lay this body down. We may lay this body down and just go get another one. Depending upon the circumstances in which we lay down the body, that may have a lot to do with the new body that we choose. It may have a lot to do with the parents that we choose. It may have a lot to do with the things that we kind of lay out, because there's a curriculum. Life is a classroom, and there's a curriculum based on what it is that we need to heal, so that we actually can make that journey back to heaven. So, I said yesterday, Eric was probably really surprised. He thought he was a really smart guy. So he's really surprised when he woke up in the remedial class. Man, I want to focus. I want to focus on what's important. At these times, it really becomes clear, right? We have things to work out in this life. There are things for us to do. So let's focus on what's important and not let anything distract us from what we know is important. And we remember, it's not that hard to figure out, because first things first means love first. God first. Say, okay, I'm going to put God first. And this is not some religiosity kind of. It is, what we're talking about here is putting God first means putting life first. Putting all life first. When we get to this point where we really start working with this light, the only difference in the way we operate in life is our motivation. That's the only difference. We still get up every morning, and if we're supposed to go to work, we go to work. If we're supposed to go to school, we go to school. If we have to go to the grocery store, we go to the grocery store. Whatever it is that we're going to do, it's the same. The only difference is that we stop making decisions for ourselves alone. That's the difference. Because living in the light, every decision we make it with others, with our brothers and sisters, and not just this idea is so huge. It is so simple, but it is so huge. It is the healing of the world. That when everything I do, I'm thinking about what I am about to do helps or hinders life. It changes everything. We do the same things and it changes everything. The workplace becomes an opportunity to be of service. The grocery store becomes an opportunity to help people who we can see are beleaguered. To be able to say a kind word to the checkout person who just got put through hell by the person that was in front of you. Perhaps someone in front of you doesn't have enough money. They forgot their money. You got some money? Pay for it. To focus on what's important, to not let anything distract us from what's important, to look at these principles and values that go together in allowing us to operate in goodwill. It is essential to our ongoing well-being that we find a way to stay in goodwill. Because this is where our living becomes fulfilling. To not let these smaller ego issues, which sometimes seem so large, to take our attention away from our well-being, which we know is wrapped up in everybody else's well-being. To know that our good is tied to the good of others. To not try to profit at the expense of others. This is really important for business, right? Because there's a mindset. Do everything that you can to get the best deal. You gotta get the best deal, man. Just put the pressure on this person. Make sure. And then the reason we do it is because we think that there's a better deal to be had because they're trying to take advantage of us. So let me be the one. Let me get everything I can get out of this thing. Just stop it. Just make a fair deal. A deal that's fair for everyone. I know it just sounds corny. Win-win. Win-win. Yes. Yes. Look for the win. For both. For all. And that's the other thing. We could very well make a deal that the two people who make the deal win, but everybody else in the circle around loses. No need for it. We live in an abundant universe. There's plenty for everyone. My good is tied to the good of others. I do not need to profit at the expense of others, because I know that no one can take my good from me. Because if I remember that my true good is the love of God. My true good is the light of Christ that is shining in me. No one can take that. My true good is that I am a child of the universe. And as such, I inherit richly. So a little business deal doesn't go quite as good as I could. Even if I lose, even in that, I cannot lose. I cannot lose. Because I have everything. And from this mindset then, good business happens. People prosper. Everybody gets an opportunity to prosper. Focus on being an extension of love and forgiveness. At these times when we are missing people, one of the things that we do is we recriminate. We say, I wish I would have spent more time. I wish so right now, let's say this. Let's start sharing right now with those who are with us right now. Let's start sharing. Start sharing ourselves. Whether you say time, talent, treasure. Share time, talent, treasure with those around us. To contribute our share to life. To contribute our share to the relationships that we have. To not, at the end of the day, when the person you don't know who it's going to be, when the person who now all of a sudden their body dies and they're not available and you go, oh my God, I've got all this unfinished business with them. Let's finish it. Let's finish the business. To contribute our share to life. To share ourselves and our good fortune with our friends and our family, with the world. To be aware that as we are continually receiving our good and everything that we have need of from creation, and that is our responsibility then to give back to creation. And this responsibility is just the knowledge that as we give, it just completes the cycle for another receiving. And we will then receive and then give. And as we get the breath that we did in the meditation, that the breath in which we receive and give life. One of the exercises I used to do riding a mountain bike in the park is when I would get tired, I would start to visualize that all of the green and growing things were giving me life with this oxygen that they were producing. And I'm breathing in the life from all of that, from all of the garden that I'm riding through. And I breathe in life, and then the carbon dioxide that I breathe out goes back to them and gives life to them. This is how it works. And this is a breathing exercise and what would happen is that my tiredness would go away. To contribute, to do what is ours to do. We have something to do. We have something to do today. We have something to do right this moment. The most important thing. And it's always there. It's always the same thing. It may seem to be different in detail as to what we're doing, but what it is that we have to do is always the same. And that is to relax into the love that is in our heart and allow that love to extend to the person who is in front of us, or beside us, or behind us. That's our job today. That's our job every day. To allow this light of Christ, which we really know is the love of God, to allow it to grow in us. It can't really grow because we have all of it, but to allow it to loose itself from our hearts, to embrace those in our lives. Those who, yes, their bodies may die today or tomorrow. The more love we share with them now, the less pain we will have when that end, that seeming end, comes. So to share ourselves, to share what we have, to share our time, talent, and treasure. It's generosity. There's a generosity that grows from our gratitude. And as our gratitude grows, that which we have to be grateful for grows. Finally, we allow our light to shine everywhere we go. To think of ourselves, as Jesus said, you're light, you're like a village on the side of the hill. We'd be the light on the side of the hill. Not hide our light. Not hinder our shining. Committed to be a beacon for others to follow. To not be embarrassed or ashamed about who we are. Because this is like really important. Who we are right now. I mean, all of our personality problems and foibles and all the things that we may think that are less than, to actually just be ourselves. Yes, there are things we want to overcome and grow out of. We will not overcome or grow out of them by sitting on them, repressing them. We just need to be ourselves, to be vulnerable with other people, to be okay with not trying to put on some front, to act like something else, to just be ourselves, remembering that at our core, what are we? We're the light of Christ. That's who we are at our core, past all of this stuff. So I don't want to be embarrassed or ashamed of who I am. I want to feel this light of Christ coming from me. I want to be the genuine article. I don't want to be some fake and phony thing out there. And so sometimes, listen, I'm just going to tell you, I do things that other people don't agree with or wouldn't if they knew. I don't care. Work out your own stuff. I feel good. I feel right. I feel guided. Sometimes I don't feel guided and then I go, oh, that was a mistake. Guess what? That's okay too. So what? So we say, you know what? I made a mistake. What can I do to fix it? Take responsibility. Do whatever is needed to fix it. No more hiding. No more acting. Let's be who we are with the people that we're with. To be genuine and true to ourselves, to allow ourselves to be unguarded and open. Into me see. To be really intimate. To be okay to be touched. And to touch. To be able to see past the limitations of personality in ourselves and in others. Throughout the day, get to the meat of the matter. To discern the underlying principles and work easily with them. To shine. And in our shining, notice that we are affecting the brilliance of the world itself, of those around us, those that are seen and unseen. Every time we extend the light of love, it touches the whole world. It expands and extends. Every thought of love goes on through eternity. So let's just think about this. To go forth and just visualize it. To go forth and just see yourself shining. Just see yourself shining brightly. Make yourself a gift to everyone in your life. And they will be a gift to you. That's enough. Thank you.